Hello students, welcome to the course on digital signal processing. In lecture 1, we'll have a discussion on introduction to DSP. Myself, Gaurav Bhardwaj, and I am an assistant professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. I will be taking your classes of digital signal processing course for this semester. Introduction to digital signal processing in general, and what is the outcomes and objectives of the course digital signal processing. We will discuss what are the course objectives and what are the course outcomes for the digital signal processing in general. Let me tell you one thing, that I do not pre-assume any knowledge of DSP from you. All I assume that you are well acquainted with the knowledge of signals and systems, Fourier transforms, Z transforms or Laplace transforms. According to the syllabus defined for this course, 1/3 of the syllabus is basically a review of the previous course, that is signals and systems. Let me discuss first of all the syllabus defined for the course digital signal processing. In the introduction part, we need to discuss what are the objectives, scope and outcomes of this course. In the second unit, we have discrete time signals and systems mentioned here. We will discuss what are discrete time signals and systems, what are discrete time sequences, representation of signals on the orthogonal basis, representation of discrete systems using difference equations, what is sampling and the reconstruction of signals, what is aliasing problem, sampling theorem and the Nyquist rate. This is our unit number 2. For unit number 3, we can see here that it is defined for Z transform. Z transform, region of convergence, analysis of LSI systems using Z transform, properties of Z transform for causal signals, interpretation of stability in Z domain, inverse Z transform. Then in unit 4 we have discrete Fourier transform, that is DFT. What is DFT? Frequency domain analysis, discrete Fourier transform, properties of DFT, convolution of signals, fast Fourier transform algorithms, Parseval's identity, implementation of discrete time systems. In unit 5 we have design of digital filters. Design of FIR filters and design of IIR filters are included in this unit. We have to understand or learn effect of finite register length in FIR filter designs, parametric and non-parametric spectral estimations, introduction to multi-rate signal processing. Then we come to our last unit, and this is application of DSP. Correlation functions and power spectrum, stationary processes, optimal filtering using ARMA model, linear mean square estimation and Wiener filters. This is the whole syllabus mentioned for this paper, our course, that is digital signal processing. Now let me make you understand what are the course objectives and what are the course outcomes. Course objective is basically the expectation of a teacher from its students. So what I have expected from you, that will be defined in course objectives. To make students familiar with the most important methods in DSP, including digital filter design, transform domain processing and importance of signal processors. And the second objective I have expected from you is to make students aware about the meaning and implications of the properties of systems and signals. Now what are course outcomes? Course outcomes are the things that I can say that you as a student will be able to do after completing this course. That means this part is student centric and this part is teacher centric. The course outcomes are the things which we can say that after learning from this course, a student will be able to do. At the end of this course, a student should be able to do. What are these outcomes? First is You can use concepts of trigonometry, complex algebra, Fourier transform, Z transform to analyze the operations on signals and acquire knowledge about systems. Select proper tools for analog to digital and digital to analog conversion. You can also select proper tools for time domain and frequency domain implementations. Third outcome, this is CO3, this is CO2, and this is CO1. Design, implementation, analysis and comparison of digital filters for processing of discrete time signals. Fourth, integrate computer-based tools for engineering applications. Employ signal processing strategies as multidisciplinary team activities. And the last one, CO6. Assess the techniques, skills and modern engineering tools necessary for analysis of different electrical signals and filtering out noise signals in engineering practice. Also develop creative and innovative designs that achieve desired performance criteria within specified objectives and constraints. Understand the need for lifelong learning and continuing professional education. So I have defined 6 course outcomes for you people. It is not necessary that there should be strictly 6 course outcomes. You can have 4 to 6 course outcomes for a course, and here I have defined 6 course outcomes for our course, that is digital signal processing. Now let me give you an idea about the books to consult to learn from this course. First and very important book that I have mentioned here is Oppenheim Schafer. The title of this book is Discrete Time Signal Processing, and the authors are Oppenheim and Schafer. This is a very important book to cover the course on discrete time signal processing. Second one is Prokes and Manolakis. This is the author of this book, and the title of this book is Digital Signal Processing. Third important book to cover this course is S.K. Mitra. Fourth one is Salivanan to Practice Numerical Questions. It is from TMH, and the title of this book is DSP, that is Digital Signal Processing. Fifth one, these all are reference books, and for these 2 books I can say that these are practice books. You can practice numericals from these books, and they also comes under the category of textbooks. So you can have any of these 5 books to cover this syllabus. The content is available in all these books. First 3 are reference books and the last 2 are practice books, and we can cover them as textbooks to complete this syllabus. Now, to understand what is digital signal processing, we shall explain the meaning of this term digital signal processing by breaking the whole term into individual terms, and then we see that what is the meaning of the complete term digital signal processing. Here we can see that the digital signal processing terms can be broken into 2 terms. One is digital signal, another one is signal processing. These 2 combine to make digital signal processing. So we will discuss first of all, since the common term related to both these terms is signal. So we will see what is signal first of all, then we will discuss what is a digital signal, then we go to signal processing, and finally we come to our main question, that is what is digital signal processing and why digital signal processing is being used. So first question that comes into our mind when we hear this name, when we listen to the name of this course, that is digital signal processing, the question first of all comes to our mind is what is digital signal processing. And to understand that what is digital signal processing, I have break the term digital signal processing into 2 different terms, individual terms. One is digital signal and another one is signal processing. The common term related to both these terms is signal, and let me now make you understand what is a signal. To make it clear, very clear in a very simple language, if I come to learn what is a signal, then it is any physical quantity that carries any information from one place to another place. Signal should be a physical quantity that can be recorded and that should contain information from one position to another position. And mathematically, here we have defined signal like this: any physical quantity that changes with time, space, or any other independent variable that changes with time, that is t or n. I will let you know what is t and n. That changes with space, that is s, or any other independent variable, and that carries some information from a source to a destination is known as a signal. Here I have defined one part of this diagram is source, another part is destination, and the whole thing is a system, and the physical quantity that is carrying an information from a source to a destination is known as a signal. It is not necessary that the signal can be transferred only from one side. It can be both the sides. The transfer of information can be done to both the sides. How can we represent a signal? That is an important question. For example, I have defined here one signal as xt, another signal as xs. You can clearly see here that the independent variable in this representation is small t. The independent variable small t represents time variable, and the function of t, that is xt, is known as a signal. So now here xt is a function, is a dependent variable, or it is a function of the independent variable which is t. So this is known as a time variable signal. Now next example is x of s. S is an independent variable here which defines space, and xs is a dependent function which is dependent on the independent variable s. So xs here defines a function which is dependent on the independent variable space. Similarly, I can also define here one another example, that is x of n. Here t and n both represents time variable, but what is the difference? This t defines continuous time, and here n defines discrete time. So one is continuous time signal, another one is discrete time signal. We will see what are continuous time or discrete time signals. But the variable for continuous time signal, the time variable for continuous time signal is small t, and the time variable for discrete time signal is small n. Now according to the applications and according to the type of systems, signals are broadly classified as continuous time or discrete time signals, analog or digital signals, multi-channel and multi-dimensional signals, periodic and non-periodic signals, energy or power signals, even or odd signals, deterministic and random signals, and there are many more classifications dependent on the applications. In the context of DSP, all these types are basically defined on time domain, that is taking independent variable as either t or n. Basically, since we are talking about digital signal processing, we are talking about digital domain, we will be more frequently using this term x of n, that is the independent variable in DSP will always, the time independent variable is always n. The next terminology that we have to understand is system. What is a system? A physical device that performs some operation on the signal and produces some other signal having the desired information or desired result. Example, filtering of a signal, or filter plant, or filter, digital filter or analog filter. What they do, they remove the noise from the signal and provide us the desired information without noise. That is known as a system. So what does a system do? A system performs some operation on the signal and it produces another signal having desired information or having desired behavior, which is having a more good quality as compared to the original signal. So systems can be divided into two parts or two types: continuous time systems and discrete time systems. What are continuous time systems? The systems whose input and output, input is here defined as xt and output is defined as yt. So if input and output of any system are both continuous time signals, then you can say that the system is a continuous time system. Similarly, what are discrete time systems? If the input and output of any system are both discrete time signals, then you can say that the system is a discrete time system. This is just an introduction and definition of system and the type of systems. We will discuss continuous time and discrete time systems in detail. Now come to the next question, that we have seen, we have to discuss first of all what is a digital signal, then we have discrete time signal, and then we have to also understand what is signal processing and digital signal processing. As I have already told you that signals can be classified in various categories, and the important classification, the most important classification is either analog or digital signal and continuous time or discrete time signals. We will discuss what are these type of signals. Now let me make you understand what is signal processing. Signal processing is a method of extracting the information from the signal, which in turn depends on the type of the signal and the nature of the information which it carries. So signal processing is a process by which we are going to extract the information from the signal, and it depends on what type of signal it is and what is the nature of information the signal is going to carry. If the signal is analog, it is known as analog signal processing, and if the signal is digital, it is called digital signal processing. Nowadays we are also concerned with another type of processing, and that is known as if the signals are mixed. If the signals are mixed, what does it mean? Mixed means continuous time or discrete time, both. Then we say then the processing is mixed signal processing. To make it more clear, let me tell you, in later 1970s era, most of the systems were analog, and at that time analog signal processing was in more function, was in more use. In later 2000, from 1970 to 2000, what has happened? A drastic change in semiconductor industry has happened, and because of the advent of integrated circuits, we are able to design more digital signal circuits to process digital signals, and due to that, in the later 2000 era, we were using digital signal processing. Nowadays what we are seeing, that we are going to use both analog and digital signals side by side, and due to that, in today's era we are more interested in mixed signal processing, where both type of signals are used, that is continuous time signal and discrete time signals, or we can say that analog signals and digital signals are both used side by side. That's why today in today's era we are more interested in mixed signal processing. We'll see what are these type of processings. Now come to our basic definition of digital signal processing. What is digital signal processing? Short name is DSP. DSP is concerned with the representation of signals by sequences of numbers and symbols and processing of those sequences. It is a mathematical notation of discrete time signals to get more desirable properties of the signal, such as less noise and distortions. So DSP is basically concerned with, it is basically a representation of signals and systems by mathematical sequences of numbers and symbols, and later on processing on those sequences. Processing can be analog, digital or mixed. It is just a mathematical notation of discrete time signals to get more desirable properties from the signals. What are the applications of DSP? Important applications are speech communication, data communication, image processing, radar engineering, nuclear science, seismology, etc., and it is used in almost every field of today's. Now let us discuss various classifications of signals. Continuous time and discrete time signals. Signals that vary continuously with time with the independent variable time are known as continuous time signals. These are defined for every value of the independent variable, that is time. The independent variable time for continuous time signals is small t. A speech signal, temperature of a room, rainfall in a city across last 4-5 years or last many years. These all are type of signals that we can count in continuous time signals. The time variable is continuous here. The signals which are defined at discrete time intervals are known as discrete time signals. These are represented by sequences of numbers, and it is defined as x of n. The small n is the time variable of discrete time signals. X of n is a discrete time signal, x of t is a continuous time signal. Here the important thing of difference is the small n time variable should be an integer value. It is 0, 1, 2, 3. It cannot be 0.5, 0.8, 0.7. The time variable should be an integer value, whereas the amplitude can be integer or cannot be integer. There is no restriction on the amplitude in case of discrete time signals. The amplitude may be a discrete value or an integer value, or may not be an integer value. There is no restriction on the amplitude side or on the value of the function, whereas restriction is only on the time variable. The time variable should be a discrete integer value. Now, what is an analog signal or a digital signal? Continuous time and continuous amplitude signals are known as analog signal. The time variable as well as the amplitude variable should be continuous. Then we can say that the signal is an analog signal. And what are digital signals then? Discrete time and discrete amplitude signals are known as digital signals. The time variable was already discrete in case of discrete time signals, but in case of digital signal, the amplitude should also be discrete. That is, amplitude should also be a binary value or an integer value. Either it may be 0 or 1 or any integer value. If that is so, you can say that the signal is if the signal the values are decoded in binary values, that is 0 and 1, then we can say that the discrete time signal with a discrete amplitude is known as a digital signal. We are going to deal with analog and digital signals or discrete time or continuous time signal maximum in this course, then therefore it is very important to understand these two type of signals in detail. Now let me discuss another signal category, that is multi-channel signals. Signals which are generated by multiple sources are called multi-channel signals. These are represented by vector notation. Xt is equals to vector x1t, x2t, x3. It means that this is a 3-channel signal. A signal is called a multi-dimensional signal if it is a function of m independent variables. Since example, a speech signal is a 1-dimensional signal. Temperature of a room is also a 1-dimensional signal. Photographic picture is a 2-dimensional signal. Television picture signal is a 3-dimensional signal. So we can say that there are multi-dimensional signals, 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 3 and many more. Now let me discuss another category, a signal which repeats its waveform after a fixed period of time, that is time period is fixed, that is if xt is equals to xt plus t0, the time period t0 is fixed. If the signal repeats after a fixed interval of time, then it is known as a periodic signal. Now what is a non-periodic signal? If the signal does not repeats after a fixed interval of time, and if it does not fulfills this equation xt is equals to xt plus t0, that if it is not equal to this, then you can say that the signal is a non-periodic signal. Another category is random signals and deterministic signals. Signals which has no uncertainty regarding its value at any value or at any time interval are deterministic signals. That is, xt is equals to a cos omega t. At any value of omega, you can define the value of xt. At any value of t, you can define the value of xt. So we can say that this is a deterministic signal. You can determine the value at any interval of time. Signals which has some uncertainty regarding its value at any value of time, then they are known as random signals. This is the category of random signals. Example, noise. Important category, another one is energy signals. A signal whose total energy is finite are known as energy signal. A signal whose total energy is finite are called energy signals. The formula to calculate energy of any signal is defined as E infinite is equals to limit t tends to infinity integral minus t to plus t modulus of xt whole square dt. In case of continuous time signal, similarly the energy in case of discrete time signal is defined as limit n tends to infinity summation minus n to plus n modulus of xn whole square. This term inside the integration can be defined as et. Therefore this expression can be defined again as E infinite is equals to limit t tends to infinity et. What is et? Et is integral minus t to plus t modulus of xt whole square dt. Similarly, this term inside the summation can be defined as En for discrete time signal. Therefore, the expression for E infinite, that is energy of a signal, is defined as limit n tends to infinity En. Next one is power signal. A signal whose average power is finite. A signal whose average power is finite is known as a power signal. Now, what is the formula to calculate the power of any signal? Power calculation for continuous time and power calculation for discrete time signals are given here. The formula is P is equals to limit t tends to infinity 1 by 2t integral minus t to plus t modulus of xt whole square dt. This integral is actually energy of the signal et. So the power calculation can be limited as limit t tends to infinity 1 upon 2t et, and limit t tends to infinity, and limits t tends to infinity 1 upon 2t et is nothing, it is basically 1 upon 2t E infinite. That is this is the power calculation for a continuous time signal. Similarly, the power calculation for a discrete time signal is limit n tends to infinity 1 upon 2n plus 1 summation minus n to plus n modulus of xn whole square. After solving it, we have the final solution is 1 upon 2n plus 1 E infinite. This is the power calculation for a discrete time signal. One important point that is to be noted here is the energy signals always have zero average power. Please note this. The energy signals always have zero average power, and the power signals always have infinite energy. If you are asked to define what is the power of an energy signal, the power of an energy signal is the average power of any energy signal is zero, and the energy of any power signal is always infinite. Now very quickly we go to another category, that is even signal. What are even signal? If xt is equals to x of minus t or xn is equals to x of minus n, then we can say that the signal is an even signal. Similarly, the mathematical calculation to define what is an odd signal, it is if xt is equals to minus of x minus t or xn is equals to minus of x minus n, then it is an odd signal. You can see here the cosine signal is, a cos wave is here, a cosine signal is given here. Xt for the positive side is equals to x of minus t. That's why we can say that a cosine wave is always a even signal. Similarly, and sine wave is given here, a sine signal is given here in terms of t. X of t is not equals to x of minus t. Basically, x of t is equal to minus of x minus t. Therefore, we can say that a sine wave is an example of an odd signal. A discrete time example of a even signal can be easily defined here. I can show you the example of a even signal in discrete time case. Let me show you here. Suppose this is xn 0 1 2 like this, and minus 1 minus 2 minus 3. If at 0 the value is 0, if at 1 the value is 1, and if at 2 the value is 2 for this xn. Now if this signal is required to be an even signal, then the condition is x of n should be equals to x of minus n. Then in that case, at 0 value is common value. What is the value at 1? The value of 1 is 1, therefore the value of minus 1 should also be 1. The value at 2 is 2, the value of minus 2 is also 2. So we can say that at x of 0 the value is x of 0, at x of 1 the value is 1, and at x of minus 1 it is also 1. So we can say that this is an example of an even signal. Now what is an example of an odd signal? In a similar way, you can define an odd signal x of n 0 1 2 like this, 3 minus 1 minus 2 like that. At 0 if the value is 0, at 1 the value is 1, at 2 if the value is 2. Then if it is an odd signal, if the value is like that, at minus 1 it is minus 1, at minus 2 it is minus 2. So the condition is xn is equals to minus of x minus n. At x of 1 the value is 1, but at x of minus 1 the value is minus 1. When minus 1 is multiplied by minus, it is again equals to 1. Therefore these two values will be equal when this condition is required to be fulfilled. So in this case, this is an example of an odd signal, this is an example of an even signal, and this is an example of an odd signal. Now quickly discuss very important term, the representation of discrete time or digital signal. How can you represent mathematically the discrete time signals or digital signals? There are four basic representations. One is graphical representation that I am already using. The graphical representation is very simple. You can see here the independent variable is defined at x-axis and the dependent variable, that is the function, is defined on y-axis. Either it may be xn or either it may be xt. So for discrete time signals we are discussing here, therefore the representation, the x variable is small n and the y variable is x of n, that is the function of n. So at 0 it is having some value, at 1 it is having some value. It is not necessary that these values, the amplitude should be discrete, but important thing is that the independent variable n should be an integer value, it should be discrete if it is a discrete time signal. But if it is a digital signal, the amplitude should also be a discrete value or integer value. So this is one representation that is known as graphical representation. Another one is functional representation. Xn is equals to, it is defined in a function form like this. If xn is equals to 2 for n is equals to 0, it is equals to 1 for the values of n equals to 1 and 3, it is equals to 0 for all the other values of n. This is the way we can represent any signal with respect to n, the values of xn. For the values of n, the values of xn are defined, and this representation is known as functional representation. Another important representation is tabular representation. The values of n are defined in first row. Therefore, in corresponding to these n values, the values of xn are defined in the next row. For the value of n equals to 0, the value of xn is 1. So for the value of n equals to 1, it is 0. For 2, it is equals to 3. This is known as tabular representation. And final representation, very important, that is sequence representation. Xn is defined as a sequence here. The curl bracket is used here. This is defined like this, 1, 2, comma, and we are using closed brackets to define a finite length sequence signal xn. Here the arrow defines the position of n equals to 0. At n is equals to 0, the value of xn is equals to 1. Similarly, after n is equals to 0, it is n equals to 1, it is n equals to 2, 3, 4. The values of xn are defined. This is known as finite length sequences. Here arrow indicates the value at n is equals to 0. For infinite length sequences, the representation is little bit different. It starts with dotted lines and it ends also with a dotted line. It means that there is no start and no end of this sequence. However, you can define the position of xn at n is equals to 0 by putting an arrow. At n is equals to 0, since arrow is here, it defines that the value of xn at n is equals to 0 is equals to 1, and subsequently the value of xn at 1 is equals to 2, at 2 is equals to 3, like that. Another representation is also given here, xn is equals to like this. When no arrow is given in a sequence, then it is very well understood that the first value is automatically the value of xn at n is equals to 0. The first value automatically gives the value position of n is equals to 0. No arrow means the starting value is at n is equals to 0. Now the basic question that was that we have started this course, that came into our mind, and what is digital signal processing and why digital signal processing is used. We can cover this in the topic advantages of digital signal processing. Again, what is signal processing? Signal processing is a method of extracting information from the signal, which in turn depends on the type of the signal and the nature of the information it carries. What are the advantages of DSP? There are a lot of advantages. I have mentioned some of them and they are important. With digital filters, linear phase characteristics can be achieved. It is not possible in analog filters. That means with analog filters we cannot achieve analog filters we cannot achieve linear phase, and it can only be achievable only in digital filters. That is, stability of filters is achieved. Stable filters are achieved in case of digital case, or it may not be achievable in case of analog case. Multi-rate processing is possible only in digital domain. Digital circuits can be connected in cascade without any loading problem, whereas it cannot be done in the analog circuits. Storage of digital data, a very big problem. It is very easy in case of digital domain. Signals can be stored on various storage media such as magnetic disks, tapes, pen drives, and any other many options are there without any loss, whereas stored analog signals deteriorate rapidly as time progresses and it cannot be recovered in their original form in case of analog processing. For processing in case of digital domain, very low frequency signals like seismic signals can be used. That means DSP can be used in seismology also. Digital circuits do not depend on precise values of the digital signals for their operation. Digital circuits are less sensitive to changes in component values. They are also less sensitive to variation in temperature, aging, and any other external parameters. These are some advantages of digital signal processing. We have some disadvantages also that are mentioned here. What are the drawbacks? Digital processing needs pre and post processing devices like ADC and DAC and associated reconstruction filter. This increases the complexity of digital systems, and that's why we are using mixed signal processor today's. In digital processors, we need to convert the natural analog signal into a digital signal first of all, then we process that digital signal, and for the use we are bound to convert that digital signal into an analog signal again in case of digital processors. Whereas in case of mixed processor, ADC and DAC are already made available in the processor, and that makes our work very easy to convert any analog signal into digital and any digital signal into analog for natural use. Digital systems suffer from frequency limitations. This is a very small disadvantage related to digital signal processing, and we can overcome them very easily. The advantage of DSP techniques outweigh the disadvantages, and consequently the applications of DSP are increasing rapidly day by day. Now let us complete this introduction class by discussing basic discrete time signals. This is very important. Before going into details of digital signal processing, we should understand what are the basic discrete time signals that we are going to use in digital signal processing. The first one is unit impulse signal, that is also known as a sample signal. It is denoted by the symbol delta n. Delta n signal defines unit impulse signal, and the value of delta n is defined as a functional representation. It is defined as delta n is always equals to 1 for the value of n equals to 0, and it is 0 at all the other values of n. That means from minus infinite to plus infinite, it is defined only at n is equals to 0. For n is equals to 0, it is always equals to 1. This is known as unit delta signal or unit impulse signal. Next one is unit step signal. It is denoted by un, defined as un, and it is equals to 1 for all the values of n greater than equals to 0, and it is 0 for all the values of n which are less than 0. That means from minus infinite to minus 1, it is always 0. These values are always 0 values, and for the positive values of n including 0, the value of un is always equals to 1. This is a unit step signal. Unit step signal is related to unit impulse signal by the expression that un is equals to summation n equals to minus infinite to plus n is equals to minus infinite to n delta n. If you do this calculation, you will get the unit step signal. So un is equals to summation n equals to minus infinite to n delta n. Next important signal is unit ramp signal, denoted by urn, defined as urn is equals to n for the values of n greater than equals to 0. It is equals to n for the value of n. For 0 it is 0, for 1 it is equals to 1, for 2 it is equals to 2, for 3 is equals to 3, for 4 it is equals to 4. It is also defined for the positive values of n. For the negative values of n, it is always 0. So it looks like a ramp signal. It looks like a ramp. That's why it is known as a unit ramp signal. Next is unit exponential signal. What is an exponential signal? It is defined as a raised to n un, and it is defined as a raised to n un. The signal is defined like this. For the value of n is equals to 0, it is a0, a raised to 0, it is equals to 1. Since the value of a is between 0 and 1, for every positive value of n, the value will decay like this. So that's why it is a decaying exponential signal, and it is defined like this. So this is unit exponential signal. In our next class, we will discuss in detail what are basic systems and what are basic system properties. We will discuss, importantly, we will discuss what is a linear time invariant system. Thank you.